Hi guys, my name is Mayana and I thought it would be really fun to rank my favorite Emily Henry books. So I've been a fan of Emily Henry since People We Meet on Vacation, which was her second book. Yeah, I've read every book since then. I've gotten an arc of every book since then, and I always read them the day they come out instead of before, but that's neither here nor there. And I really want to share with you guys what my favorite Emily Henry books are because I love her. I love the way that she writes like women's fiction but with romance. Like there's a lot of things going on in these characters' lives versus it just being about these characters getting together. And it's a lot about them like being older than like the typical age in romance. And as someone who's getting older and closer to my 30s, it's a lot nicer to find books with some people, even though I'm not 30 yet, but they're like, I feel closer to 30 than I do 20, which is crazy because I'm right in the middle. But I just like knowing that there are romance books out there from when I'm 30, probably still single, that there is something out there for me. Yeah, so in last place I have Happy Place. Unfortunately, I just did not love this book. I mean, authors are forced to release a book every single year, and I don't think that like every book is gonna be a hit, but like this book wasn't bad. I think it was like a 3 or 4 star read for me, or 3.5. Probably made it 4 star. I love like everything that Emily Henry writes. It just was like there were things outside of the romance in this book that I didn't necessarily love. So this book is about this couple who they're broken up, and then their friends have like a little reunion. Their college best friends have like a little reunion, and they haven't hung out with them in years, so they pretend to still be like a dating couple for their friends. And I just didn't really like, I didn't think that the friends were like a well-written friend group, to be honest. Like I think there are better written friend groups, and Emily Henry doesn't really write friend groups. I've also read another book by her that wasn't romance. It was a YA sci-fi, and the friend group in that book wasn't written very well either. So I can kind of see why she doesn't write friend groups, because I don't think it's like a strong suit for her. I don't think that it's bad or anything, but I just feel like it could have been written a lot better. And I think I just didn't really like the romance dynamics. Like it was fine. I was also very tired of like fake dating at the time, which the irony of this, by the time you get to the end of the video, you're gonna be like, what? But yeah, I was really sick of fake dating at a time, and so it just like didn't really hit for me. It wasn't like amazing. And so yeah, the next book I have, before y'all throw y'all stones, before y'all get y'all pitchforks, hear me out, okay? The next book is Beach Read. So this was the second book that I read by her. The first one was People We Meet on Vacation, and so I just felt like I connected with that one the most. I mean, I connected with this one too, but I mean, this is about this girl who moves to Michigan because her dad passed away, and she found out that her dad had like a house with his mistress, and so she moves to that house to, you know, get stuff out of it so she can like sell it. And she ends up running into like her college academic rival, and she writes books, she writes romance, and he writes literary fiction or some shit, I forgot. And so they run into each other, and they end up deciding to swap genres, and then whoever writes the best wins. Whoever, I don't fucking remember, I'm sorry. But I really like this one because it takes place in Michigan. I live in Michigan, if you guys didn't know that, and I really love like beaches and like lakes and stuff like that. We don't go a lot because we don't have a lot in my area, but like there's a place like in Beach Read that is mentioned where they're staying at, and I want to go and visit that someday because like I said, I love beaches, and like I love small towns. I love living in a small town, which you don't hear a lot from people, but I love living in a small town. I just wish it was like more of a community. So reading Emily Henry books really like gives me that, what I want, basically. Yeah, so I read Beach Read, and I liked it. I liked that it takes place, they don't read on the beach, anyways, that's not the point. I like that it takes place in Michigan. I like Alex, what the fuck are they named, August and January. Yeah, I like August and Augustus. I'm like, why the fuck do they have, anyways, I like Augustus and January, and I like the dynamics. I like that it's academic rivals to lovers. It just wasn't like, wasn't a favorite. Like what else can I say? So the next book I have is People We Meet on Vacation. This is my first Emily Henry book. This is about two best friends who used to go on vacation all the time, and then something happens between them and they stop going on vacations together. So the main character gets her ex-best friend, and so they can like go on like One Last Hurrah. And I really love this. I thought this was fun. I listened to this when I was at work, and I worked at Target at the time, so I remember like listening to this at work and being like, yeah, I fuck with this, and literally going to the book aisle and like buying it. I miss doing that. I used to love doing that, like listening to an audiobook at work and then going to buy the audiobook. Like it was just so, it was so much fun. So I have a lot of memory attached to this book. I have a lot of like feelings attached to this book. I think that I love Poppy as a character. I loved her personality. It wasn't like, I love like that upbeat like Jess from New Girl personality, but where it's not like too much. And I like how it was written. I love the best friend in this book too, and I wanted like a separate book for her, to be honest, but I could still wait. I ain't got nothing but time, Miss Emily Henry. And yeah, so I absolutely love this. This was a lot of fun. Okay, so then my next one, I mean, I feel like my next one might come as a surprise because it's not a lot of people's favorites. But Beach Read is my next. Like, this is my top. This was my favorite book for a long time. And you can figure out what my favorite book is, but we'll talk about that later. So this was my favorite book for a while. Book Lovers is about Nora, whose whole life is like book. So she ends up getting a trip to like this really cute small city, and she keeps running into like this guy who's like a book editor, and she like brings her sister with her, and it's about them being like in this small town. And I really love this one because I related to this book a lot, which is so crazy because I remember when this book was announced, it didn't sound interesting to me. Like I remember when she announced it, I was like, oh, I'm not gonna read it, doesn't sound interesting. And so everybody was excited about the book, and I'm like, I don't give a fuck. And I get Emily Henry's arcs. I get Emily Henry's books early because I am automatically accepted on the NetGalley for Berkeley, and her books are published under Berkeley. So I remember seeing the NetGalley and being like, I don't give a fuck about that book, like fuck that book, like I don't care. And then everybody was talking about it, whatever, and I remember I ended up convincing my grandma to buy me this book when we were at like grocery shopping one day, and I read it and I was like, damn, this book was good. Like it's my favorite Emily. It's just so crazy because I did not give a fuck about this book, and I read it and it ended up becoming my favorite Emily Henry. Like what the fuck. But I related to it so much because I'm an eldest sister. Like I'm a girl who loves reading, first of all. And then somebody said that Charlie is like Jake Johnson, or like they pictured Charlie as Jake Johnson, and ever since then I've been picturing Charlie as Jake Johnson. And I love their like dynamics because it was like more like annoyance to lovers, and just her being an eldest sister was all I needed, to be honest. Like her being an eldest sister and being in love with books, I said, oh bitch, you wrote my life, Emily Henry. Okay. And then my favorite Emily Henry book is Funny Story. Yes, the book that quite literally just came out. Yeah, it's my favorite Emily Henry book. I just absolutely loved it. It was amazing. It's a mess. I love them. It just had everything that Mayana loves. Okay, it's a mess. It's about, girl, I'm hate having to explain this book. So it's about, I'm gonna explain to y'all how I explained to my sister. This situation involves 4 characters. Okay, Daphne, Miles, Peter, and Petra. Daphne is engaged to Peter, and like before their wedding, like a week before their wedding, Peter ends up leaving Daphne for his best friend Petra. Petra was dating Miles, so Daphne ends up moving with Miles, and then they end up falling in love. So it's about Daphne and Miles, but it's like a mess. First of all, I love that shit. Okay, I love like messy stuff like that. I read a Colleen Hoover book like similar to that a few years ago, but I don't like Colleen Hoover, and I think the book kind of missed the mark for me. So ever since then I was like, I want a messy book that like where 2 people end up dating because their exes still got together. And Emily Henry was like, Mariana, here you go. Insane, right? So it's a great book. It's about them being like roommates. I love roommates to lovers. I feel like roommates to lovers is like very underutilized, which I understand why, because I read a lot of fan fiction, and I don't think that like it could be written as like a full-length novel. I think it can be written as like, but this one, it had more than like the roommates to lovers plot line, so that's why it worked out for me. It had like fake dating, even though it wasn't really fake dating, because it was about these 2 characters. Like Miles had ended up, like they had like got invited to like Peter and Petra's wedding, so Miles and Daphne had RSVP'd on like a drunken night, and then Daphne like felt insulted by Peter when he called, and he was like, you know, you don't have to go, like, and she's like, no, I'm gonna be there with my man. He was like, you didn't have a +1. She's like, yeah, my man's gonna be there. And like yeah, and she was like, yeah, because he got the invitation too. And then she was like, and then Peter was like, Miles? And he was like, you guys aren't even gonna, he basically was like, you guys aren't gonna last. And she was like, fuck you, bitch. Like, they didn't say all of that, but that's how I read it. So they like fake date to prove like Peter wrong, and I love that. I love the humor in this book. It feels very like sitcom, and like I feel like a lot of sitcom humor isn't translated well in books, but this was translated like very well. And Miles is my book boyfriend. He's a loser. I love losers. And he also reminds me of Nick Miller, which, Emily Henry, I'm onto you, because Miles' name is Miles Nowak. M-N. Nick Miller's name is Nick Miller. N-M. Yeah. I'm onto you, Gritty. And it's also like, I feel like every book, every male character gets a little bit more like Nick Miller up until this point. And hey, I love Nick Miller. I'm waiting for my own person. I am Nick Miller, but I'm waiting for my own personally. So I absolutely love this book. It was so much it was funny, it was hilarious. Like I literally was like, had like actual like laugh out loud moments. It was hilarious. It was so good. I love the fact that she was a librarian, because I want to be a librarian, so I really related to like the main character and her like love for like getting these kids to read. And also it's about like her being like 31 or 32, no 31, and like she already fell in love at like a late age. And as someone who's a hopeless romantic, like it's so like I feel like I feel like I'm just like running out of time, even though it's not that serious. And like, ugh, I hate when people who already like are in relationships or whatever, like, oh, like you just have to like wait for your time, or like just wait for that special person, like don't rush it. But I hate people like that. And so like reading this book, it didn't feel like it was pushing it, and it was just this, it was more so just like, girl, like it's unfortunate, but you'll get through it, right? And so I just loved reading that. And I love Emily Henry like writing about older characters, as I said earlier. This book was just fun. It was fun. It would take place in Michigan, obviously, and like I said earlier, like I love like beaches and small towns, and like it was actually so funny because in my vlog, I hope it's uploaded before this, in my vlog I talked about like wanting to go to like Mackinac Island, and they hadn't mentioned that until like I picked it back up again, and it was like talking about Mackinac Island. I was like, what the fuck, Emily, get out of my head. I love Mackinac Island. I want to go to Mackinac Island so freaking bad. But yeah, so this is me gushing about Emily Henry for ever. As we all know, I will read her groceries list. I do read her grocery list because she has a Substack that is basically like a newsletter, and it's called Emily's Grocery List, and I am subscribed to it. So I technically do read Emily's grocery list. So how much more of a loser could I be? So yeah, thank you for watching this video. I hope you liked it. Tell me what your favorite Emily Henry books are. Don't tell me if your least favorite is Book Lovers though. So yeah, that was it for this video. I hope that you liked it. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys in the next one.